Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Daily Motion. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Thursday, January 29th, 2015, around 8:24 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's about 27 degrees outside, getting a little cloudy, some snow, periods of snow tomorrow night, winter storm warning for the Merrimack Valley, possibly 3 to as much as 6 inches, maybe more in New Hampshire and Maine, where they're going to get 12 inches of snow. Some news to report. The Boston Red Sox have avoided arbitration with outfielder Daniel Nava, signing him to a 1-year contract, and musician Billy Joel will be returning to play at Fenway Park again this summer. Dates to be announced. That's about it on that. And my third and final video blog subject of the night is about a classic television private eye detective series on CBS called Barnaby Jones. Barnaby Jones was one of the most famous cop shows of the 1970s, and it lasted from January 28th, 1973 through April 3rd, 1980. It was produced by Quinn Martin Productions. It starred Buddy Upson as Barnaby Jones, and L.A., the private eye who was retired but came out of retirement to solve the case of his murdered son. It also starred Lee Meriwether as Betty Jones, Barnaby Jones' daughter-in-law, and also it starred Mark Scherer as J.R., the son of Barnaby's cousin. Mark Scherer came on board to the cast in the 1976-77 season. Mark Scherer previously was starring in SWAT. And the series is about a private eye, Barnaby Jones, who retires from the private detective business, and he hands his private detective business over to his son. But his son is murdered, and his daughter-in-law, Betty, asked Barnaby to come out of retirement just to solve the case, to find the killer of his son. And when they solve the case, Barnaby decides to come back out of retirement, and he and Betty form a good team to solve cases. And Barnaby is like one of these who's not the stereotypical TV detective of the day, because usually TV detectives love to drink alcohol. Every time Barnaby goes to the restaurants or the bars, he gets a good glass of milk, which was very unusual, but milk does a body good, and everybody likes to drink milk. And Barnaby would make observations to solve crimes like mud on tires, and the criminals who are on the episodes call the accomplice and says there's a guy named Mr. Jones, and he's asking so many questions, and the person who does the crime says Jones will be taken care of. Barnaby rarely got into fist fights with the people who committed the crimes. Usually he gets the bad guys to drop down after he has his gun, or he slams the door on the bad guys, or does judo chops, or slashes the tires of the bad guys' cars who are trying to escape from getting in trouble. And also he gets help from others, like the police or Betty or J.R. And towards the later years of Barnaby Jones, around the 1976-1977 season, when they added J.R., they had Barnaby wasn't really the focal point of the show. They divided the time between all 3 characters with Betty and J.R. and Barnaby, because Buddy Upson was getting up there in age, and he really wanted to slow down and stuff. So each of the series, through later seasons, about maybe a third of the episodes, had the focal point of the series was between all three of them, but the series peaked out in the mid-1970s, being in the top 25, and a lot of fans really liked Buddy Epson playing Barnaby Jones, and they didn't really like, him not being the focal point of Barnaby Jones. And actually, by 1980, Barnaby Jones was cancelled by CBS after 8 seasons and over 170 episodes. A lot of people think Barnaby Jones is kind of a spin-off from the classic TV series Canon, which was actually produced by Quinn Martin Productions, and it was also shown on CBS for 5 years. But Canon, William Conrad, who played Frank Cannon, actually appeared on one episode of Barnaby Jones as the pilot episode. It was kind of a crossover, and Barnaby Jones appeared on 2 episodes of Canon. It wasn't a spin-off from Canon. It was actually a crossover episode, and Barnaby Jones has been seen in reruns and syndication for many years on WQTV 68 in Boston. It was also shown in New Hampshire on WNDS TV 50, was shown nationally on WWOR EMI service. It was also on the Fleeting Pax network back in the day. In the late 80s and early 90s, there were rumors that Lee Meriwether and Mark Shearer wanted to have a kind of a made-for-TV movie of the return of Barnaby Jones, but Buddy Epson was basically retired from the acting business and he didn't want to do it. But he actually reprised Barnaby Jones in the movie The Beverly Hillbillies in 1993. Actually, Buddy Epson's most famous role besides Barnaby Jones was Jed Clampett on the TV series The Beverly Hillbillies, that ran for many years on CBS from 1962 to 1971. Actually playing Jed Clampett in the movie version of Barnaby Jones, of the Beverly Hillbillies, was Jim Varney of Ernest P. Royal, who was actually Ernest P. Royal, and that was Buddy Epson's last acting appearance. And Buddy Epson passed away in 2003. And reruns of Barnaby Jones might be coming to MeTV sometime in the near future, and it's a great detective series. Barnaby Jones is probably one of the best ever, and would be good to see it again. CBS Productions actually released Barnaby Jones on DVD season 1, but that DVD sales were very poor, and CBS never released the rest of the seasons, which was too bad. But those things happen, and hopefully MeTV gets reruns of Barnaby Jones in the near future. And that's about it on that. I'll be back tomorrow, Facebook friends and YouTube followers, and Daily Motion and Twitter for 3 more video blogs. First video blog of the day will be the top 10 greatest San Diego Padres pitchers of all time, and then there'll be a sports thing, and the third and final video blog of the night will be about former WWE Intercontinental Champion Ahmed Johnson. This is the start of the series of all the personality profiles. Will be about famous African American people, because it's Black History Month, so I gotta honor them. And don't forget, coming soon to these video blogs, top 10 list of where they should hold the NHL Winter Classics or a Stadium Series game, and the top 10 WrestleMania venues they should hold it at. Next week, top 10 list will probably only be the top 10 players and pitchers of California Angels and Angels pitchers and players of all time, and maybe, just maybe, it's going to be Julie Broughton and Heidi Pratt time on these video blogs. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.